Welcome back to the Change Physician Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Melissa Cady, joined by my co-host, Dr. Kevin Cuccaro, and we are joined by our lovely guest, Dr. Dianah Lake, also known as Dr. Di Fit Life, if you want to find her handles in all the social media. But speaking of social media, we just randomly started talking about a conversation before we started recording about this whole hashtag #medbikini. And it seems like, Kevin, you've been reading deeper into it than I have, but as a female, of course, I think about the relevancy to this idea of being professional when you are, if you're in your personal life and you're wearing a bikini or wearing something that's showing a little more skin than usual than you would do at your work. What have you seen or found, Kevin?
So this was one of the weird things. I'm not normally a Twitter person, but I found out if you just go onto Twitter once a day and you look at what's trending, you can see all these news topics. And I saw this med bikini thing pop up and I was like, what the hell is this? And holy crap, and so
it's
basically,
everywhere.
Yeah, but basically what occurred is that for the August 2020 issue of the Journal of Vascular Surgery, there was a submission that was accepted, went through peer review, and was going to be published called Prevalence of Unprofessional Social Media Content Among Young Vascular Surgeons. And right in and of itself, that doesn't sound too bad, but the basic gist of the matter is that the authors of this study were going through people's social media accounts and then saying they were being unprofessional, but not going just through their social media accounts, creating fake profiles, then friending these people on social media, and then saying they were being unprofessional with the information that they were posting and photos. And then all of this being kind of put together was what appeared to be a horrendous double standard between that if you were a woman and you were wearing a bikini and you posted a picture of you bikini in your social media account, that somehow that was unprofessional. And yet the authors of the study were called out because several of them had their own social media accounts where they were like men just wearing shorts, drinking beer, making obscene gestures on their social media profiles. And obviously you can see where that would explode because we don't live in the 1950s anymore, and women, rightly so, are much more empowered, and called out the absolute hypocrisy here. So that's, I guess, my long introduction to this, because
Well stated, Kevin.
Well, I like to say I grew up with a pack of she-wolves. Like I grew up with my mom and my sister and my aunt and my cousin. We were a bunch of women and there was me, right? And so being around strong women is natural. And I see this stuff happening and I'm just like, I just can't believe it. Like you just can't. Where would anybody have come up with this idea? And most importantly, where would they come up with the idea that somehow it's unprofessional being in a bikini, but it's perfectly okay for you to be in your shorts as a man with your shirt off, drinking beer on the beach and doing other slovenly male behavior. So,
well,
yeah.
The thing is there is this bias, I think, even in the professional world. Like we have these kind of like these rigid perceptions of how we're supposed to be. And like, I don't want to say we're trying to be too goody two shoes, but we're very like, we're trying to be so professional that we kind of constrict ourselves in some ways. And, what's interesting is that I have done fitness competitions in the past. So Dianah, you can appreciate this. You're not wearing a full suit when you're doing a fitness competition. So it's all, the context is so critical to what you're evaluating in front of you. And so, is it wrong of me that I was a fitness competitor and there was a photographer who I didn't know when I signed my little waivers and all this stuff that I was going to have forever emblazoned with my name, Melissa Cady? You can go on the internet and look for images of me. That's fine. I look cachectic and a little bit too, skinny. But I'm exposed like 95% of my body because of the nature of the competition. So, that's what's interesting is I'm a physician and people can go look up and see me half naked on the internet, but it was based on a competition and the context makes sense. But you wouldn't be judged on that based on your professionalism in the confines of like an operating room or a clinic or whatnot. But I'm curious, Dianah, when you do fitness stuff, so these are little things that even females in their best, they might try to not judge you or whatnot, but being a professional themselves, you might wear a jog bra and your workout gear, and that's what you work out in, and you take pictures and videos. Do you do you feel like there's times where you think, you know, are people going to have a problem with this, or have people said anything, or what is your take on that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So a number of us that are in the, weight loss and fitness, that are physicians that are in this arena, we've been, addressed by other female physicians, that is too much. This is against, your professionalism as a physician. We've actually, a good number of us, by other female doctors, have sent us direct messages on Facebook, like, why are you posting this? And there's nothing pornographic about what we're posting. You're in a sports bra, or, you're showing your abs, or you're in a bikini. And yes, even from women, surprisingly, you would think in this day and age that women would be, happy to see that there are other women, especially physicians, as difficult as it is for us to, have a fit lifestyle and all of the crazy things are, that we do with our career. We just don't have the time, to be able to really fit a lot of this stuff in unless we truly make it a priority. So it's really difficult to be a physician and be as healthy and fit as, we are that are in this industry. And to just, even just appreciate that, I feel like that's being missed. What's being focused on is, you're a doctor, you should not be wearing this on social media. And so for me, when I created my Facebook page, I had to think about what my 9 little profile pictures were going to be. And I thought about it for a moment, this very question of whether or not to put my, my bodybuilding competition picture up there. As you said, it's skimpy.
Yeah.
It's not much coverage.
That's the whole point. I mean, to see all the muscles and everything else, that's kind of the way it goes.
Yes.
Just like, I mean, guys wear so much less when they do this competition.
Oh my gosh, the men wear even less than the women for bodybuilding competitions. And I've seen many doctors that are men post their stuff from their competitions with no issue. So I actually had this trepidation, like, ooh, how is this gonna feel? But I said, screw it.
Yeah.
Screw it. This is my life. This is what I do. I spent 9 months preparing for this. You bet your ass.
Yeah.
I'm putting my picture up because I deserve to celebrate the hard work I've put in. And so that was kind of the internal, struggle I had with it, is what would people think? But I've grown up a little bit. And what people think is not an issue for me anymore. And so I put who I am there. You see me with my children. You see me in a bikini with my children. You see me in a bikini in a professional bodybuilding competition. So you see me in a bikini in Bali, enjoying myself, minding my business,
right,
and not doing anything, illegal. And so I feel like this is who I am. I should have the freedom to be able to express myself in the way that is truest to me. And if that means I am a fitness enthusiast, I'm a mom, I'm a doctor, I'm a gardener, all of those things I should be able to share without feeling that somebody's going to have something negative to say about it.
Yeah.
So.
Kevin, what were you going to say? You look like you're jumping on it.
Well, because what Di was basically saying, in which you eventually said, because I always had to jump in because I'm like, I gotta say something. Well, the fact of this, what you were talking about posting pictures was essentially only relevant to women physicians, right? And you said it, that when men do these contests and they're wearing the little hammocks, right, and nothing else, or they're posting their pictures on whatever page it is. And again, they're gym shirts. They can be baggy shorts. They can be tight shorts or whatever. But the worst that tends to happen for them is like, oh my God, did you see the poster that they picked? I'm just going to pick a random name. Mike, did you see Mike's poster out there? Or he posted this thing, ha, 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 ha. And they joke, right? But the judgment with this seems to land so heavily on women physicians, and it's wrong in so many different ways. It's wrong that we should be even having this conversation, which I think was a part of this whole med bikini kind of outrage behind it, because this should not, in this day and age, you'd think as far as we think we'd like to have advanced as a society, maybe that's not even true. We shouldn't be having this discussion in 2020.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
I mean, there is a difference between having a little bit more skin exposure and being significantly provocative in a very sexual manner that, you know, culturally we can pick up on. But I think culturally, this is the culture is the problem. And I, even as a female, we've been influenced by this, where even my first response, even to your picture or a picture that I have of mine, I think, ooh, I mean, it's like, how is somebody going to judge that?
Yeah.
Or looking out for someone thinking, oh, I hope, you know, no one gives them any crap about that. Or just this feeling of, wow, that takes some bravery and, like, you know, feeling comfortable with yourself. And, you know, but it all depends on the mindset of the people that are interpreting it. And so I think it's really hard to, yeah. And I also think that there's also that part where some females might look at it and feel like they can't do that and feel respected. And they might say something because they feel constricted by the culture that judges and has these double standards. So, you know, maybe I need to, you know, put a little bit more pictures out there to make everyone comfortable too. I mean, of course, not crazy, but, you know, just, you know, a little bit more comfortable with various types of, you know, it's not that we have to show our whole body, but in the context of what you're doing, and being that I love fitness, you love fitness, most of us don't work out in suits. Most of us don't work out in our scrubs. I mean, there's a time and a place, and if you're just having fun, and, you know, why are we going to judge people like that? So I think it's a good conversation for us to have, but I agree with Kevin. The fact that we even have to have it is crazy.
Yeah.
And when you think of other cultures and other countries where they're pretty much running around naked as a culture with a little thing covering just their genitals, it seems crazy that we're so concerned about slightly less clothing that's still covering a ton more than other cultures.
Absolutely, I agree. I think there's a whole lot of transference going on too, where, you know, people just have these, maybe the way they grew up, or maybe what they consider to be quote unquote normal or acceptable. So they're basically transferring that, you know, to others who may be bolder or just more confident in their body, you know, and that's really what it was for me when I decided, look, I'm going to be me, and I'm going to present all aspects of me. And that includes fitness, and that includes competitions, and that includes, you know, my medical practice. So, I mean, I post a variety of things. One day I'm posting about ER, the next day I'm posting about fitness, the next day I'm posting about, you know, something recreational or self-care or prevention, or, you know, you shouldn't be, you know, worried that you're doing something that's going to help somebody, because at the end, everything we're posting, most likely someone's getting, you know, encouraged by it somehow. You know, they're seeing that you're able to do it, and that's giving them the courage to do it themselves.
Right.
They're seeing your results, and that's making them feel like, let me get off my butt and do, you know, what I said I was going to do. So when I post something, I'm posting knowing that somebody's going to be encouraged or motivated by it. And so just like when you see these YouTube videos with like 1 million likes, and then there's like 200 thumbs down, and you're like, who are these 200 people?
I know. The haters, the trolls.
Yeah, so it's like you're always going to have someone who's going to be like, no, that doesn't work for me, you know? So I can't be worried about that.
Yeah.
I just can't. So I'm going to go for, you know, what it is, the main idea or the message is, and push that. And if that means, you know, it happens to be me in a bikini, then that's what it is. And, you know, the people who don't like it can just scroll.
Right, right.
You know, well, that's an option. You can just keep scrolling.
Yeah. Well, you know, that's so true. I mean, I think there's definitely an awareness that you have a conscious, you're making an intentional effort to just be aware of these, you know, issues, and, you know, you're not letting yourself shrink down out of worry what other people think. I mean, even someone who's 6'2" that tends to crouch over to not feel different or less than somebody else that makes fun of them. Like there's so many things that we do to, you know, almost to constrict who we are and how we feel about ourselves.
Yeah,
And,
playing small. That's really what it is. It's
that's a
playing
perfect phrase.
small, you know, because you're afraid that your boldness or your confidence will make someone else uncomfortable.
Right.
Right. And to fit in and to make everyone else happy, you're unhappy because you're not giving the full, you know, presentation of who you are in its entirety, because you're picking and choosing what is politically correct, or at least deemed politically correct, and not being your whole self. And I mean, the time of that is over.
Yeah.
It's over. Like, you know, we're multifaceted people.
Mm-hmm.
We're not just doctors. You know, we're doctors, we're mothers, we're dancers, we're gardeners, we're fantastic. We've got all, you know, different facets to us. And to say, oh, because you are of this profession, you cannot do this, is completely ridiculous.
Yeah. Isn't the irony, though, of the medical profession is that we're trained to the extent and the intensity that it tries to strip away all the other things that make us who we are. And for
Absolutely.
us trying to stretch back out and grow back again into the people we are and rediscover ourselves, we get shamed for that.
Absolutely. Yep.
But
Well, and I think that that shame or that perception, the people who get hardest are people who've been marginalized, right? And so if you're a white man, it's a much different lens through which the world sees you than if you're anybody else. And I think that was what the other thing that really upsets me about this is you got it almost felt they were intentionally going after people who have not had their voice. You know, if you even think, I'm trying to think when my mom's going to kill me if she hears this, but when did women's right to vote persist? I should know the date off the top of my head. She is going to kill me. But really, it's only been like 100+ years that women have even had the right to vote. So why is it that we're not instead like, you know, focusing on strong female voices and strong female surgeons' voices and really promoting the things that they have done to have provided a value added to the entire profession, who are moving into medicine and addressing issues that have been long unaddressed because the focus has been white men. You know, why aren't we focusing on this and this stupid, you know, like you're saying, it's basically trying to shame them into not being who they are. And you know, the other half of this was like the med bikini part gets the rest of it, but then there's other things they were talking about. These so the pictures got the main of it, but they're also talking about referencing, if you referenced in your social media profiles, and again, they're using fake accounts to find out what you're personally posting here, but if you're putting politically or socially charged issues, and they specifically
gun control. I think gun control was in there.
In abortion, both of which are health issues.
Right.
So what?
Especially for us in the ER, we get to see both of those.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so why? So those are, if you know, granted that they are somewhat politically charged, and there is a lot of feeling behind it, but those are something that as physicians we should be talking about, and we should be trying to talk about them rationally and from a scientific basis, rather than letting what we would hope would be scientific, realistic, in the trenches understanding these issues be overwhelmed by people out in the corners spouting just nonsense. Right. And I think that's the danger of a lot of this stuff is for physicians, we're already having difficulty to find voices when it comes to social media. But if we're not doing it, someone's going to step into that role and they're going to be saying stuff that isn't factual, isn't true, and really isn't relevant or helpful to society. So, I mean, I think we sort of have a responsibility to be posting this stuff, not being called out on it necessarily.
Yeah. No, I think it's amen. All that. No, there's just so much, you know, that I think that this hashtag med bikini encapsulates, and from, you know, just the double standards. I mean, like you said, you know, white Caucasians have tried to, you know, we can get in another conversation another time, but just this power kind of infrastructure to control the marginalized. I mean, if you really want to go back, I mean, from the Maori to the Aboriginals to African Americans to Indians, I mean, really the white man, we can have another full conversation about that. But all of those things, you have to really step back and think who's trying to control what and who are the ones that are being dictated as to how they're supposed to behave. And the reality is, I think we're at a point we realize that we're all human and we need to recognize our biases and we need to call each other out on them. And I think this is the opportunity where this kind of med bikini thing gives the opportunity for, even though, like you said, Kevin, the fact we even have this discussion is pretty pitiful.
Well, and I think we had talked about this earlier, like Di and had said, I think before we started recording, is there is a foundation that was missed in this whole thing. The intention behind it could have been good, but was overshadowed with how they deliver their message, right?
Yeah.
But we're not what saying is you don't walk into your office and you don't see patients while wearing boxer briefs or a bikini or whatever. You don't run down the street, I don't know, shouting something kooky, right? There's a if you're in the professional environment, you're in a professional environment. When you're outside that professional environment, you still want to maintain, you want to be a good human.
Decency.
But,
Right.
yeah, there's human decency, right? You want to be a decent human being, but decent human beings also have lives. They have friends, they have family, and they go out and do decent human things. And I think patients probably prefer to know that their doctor is a human that actually has a soul and that they connect with on another level simply by seeing, this rigid person in a white jacket in the office that's a robot, right? Oh, this, Dr. Lake is a robot outside the ER. She just sits and puts herself into her cubicle and plugs herself in to recharge until the next time she's out here. That's, people don't want that. They want to have a human to take care of them.
Right. And if you're having fun, that's usually when you want to take pictures, and you might be jumping in a lake somewhere or a pool, and you're going to be wearing a bikini, so lay off.
I mean, it's crazy because one of the mom groups I'm in, they posted an ER doc in a bikini who basically saved a guy who had an open fracture from a boating accident on a beach. She's taking care of him right on the beach in her bikini.
Yeah.
And got to the ER giving directives in her bikini. So it doesn't change her competency.
Right.
It doesn't change her ability to do her job. It doesn't change anything about what she's learned in medical school simply because she has on a bikini. And I love that because it was just the perfect rebuttal to all of this.
Yeah.
It's like, I can save your life in a bikini.
That's
right. You should have posted that. I would have loved to seen that in the thread, right? Oh, I guess I should have worried more about my bikini rather than saving this person's life.
Context, people, context.
Yes. I just loved it. I was like, yes.
Oh, well, this is great. I'm glad we covered this topic. It's definitely a very popular topic at the moment. Kevin, any last thoughts?
No, other than we shouldn't be having to do this anymore. People, be smart, right? Be a good human. Have fun in your life. Have a life. We shouldn't.
You're right.
Just have a life. And don't let these little silly things of people trying to get published so that they can pad their resume. Maybe that was the reason behind all this. Shouldn't be interfering.
Someone in one of my mom groups said maybe they did this so they can see all the women in bikinis. She said, is this some kind of a ploy here for them to see us actually wear bikinis?
Oh my God, that's great. Hey, that's a good point. You always got to think of all the other options.
That's right.
Because now you got all these doctors out here posting bikinis and you didn't see before.
So they might be just brilliant, huh?
Who knows?
We're doing the whole reverse psychology thing that, if we publish this and we get enough outrage, we'll actually be empowering all our female physicians in vascular surgery, because we know that they're a minority. They're only like 12% of vascular surgeons are female. So
yeah.
Maybe it was a closet ploy. That's what they should have done. Instead of their apology said, you guys, this is what we were trying to do and you did it. We posted this hoping to get you outraged and posting and becoming stronger.
And if they listen to this video, feel free to comment or contact us and we'll tell the real story.
I do have to say one last thing in here.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to say it was 100 years, and it was 100 years on women's right to vote. So women's suffrage passed and was finally ratified in 1920. Mom, I apologize I didn't have it at the tip of my tongue when we started this.
Awesome. Very nice. Well, thank you all for joining the Change Physician podcast. Again, I'm your host, Dr. Melissa Cady, joined by my co-host, Dr. Kevin Cuccaro, with our lovely guest, Dr. Di or Dr. Dianah Lake. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for having me.